Okay, so this is the financial focus portion of today's webinar. We just left the weekly webinar, and in this section, this last half hour, this financial focuses, we're going to talk today about when to make changes in your to your retirement investments. So almost like all of these webinars, this came from a triggering event out there in the world, whether it's something I learned at a workshop or I talked to a client about. But this came from a discussion I had Saturday night when I was out to dinner, a late dinner with some friends. And it was interesting because these two women are in very different places in their life. One is in their mid-30s and one is in her 60s. And the one in her mid-30s said, she's in a good position and she's got some funds saved, and she said, I just don't know what to do. I kind of hear this craziness that's going on in the world. The market has been is very uncertain, and I feel like I should just pull everything out and maybe go to cash for a while. And I said, what do you need? What are you saving your money for? And she said, retirement. Now you may think, well, she's in her mid 30s. She's got a long time to retirement. And so I asked her, I said, I didn't turn it into a financial planning discussion. We're just having appetizers and a cocktail. But I said, well, when do you plan on retiring? And maybe in her 50s, but probably traditional age, 60 or so. Well, you might be saying, you folks that are more experienced might be saying, well, geez, Louise, she's got a long time to worry about this, so she should probably be in a pretty growth oriented strategy, and I talked to her about that a bit, and the other person, the person in her 60s, talked to her about it as well, and these are from places of both experience and confidence, right? And I'm going to talk about that experience and confidence in a second, but that was the driver of today's topic. I'm going to share my whiteboard with you so we can go through some things together. So I shared with you why this topic. And when I think about when you should make changes to your investment strategies, it should be very purposeful, not due to noise that's coming from the TV, the internet, your cell phone, or what's going on in the world. I'm not saying you should be blind to what's going on in the world, but it shouldn't be the major factor to drive your investment decisions. Your investment decisions should come from your financial plan. Your financial plan should be a true, real, comprehensive plan. I'm fortunate enough where I coach financial advisors around the country. And unfortunately, what I see with some of those folks and what I see from clients coming in is that most financial plans are razor thin. They don't go very deep. They don't really identify someone's needs, goals, and issues and take the time to work through really what's needed and when. So, but if you have a true financial plan or real financial plan, then and a comprehensive financial plan, then you can. And just because someone says it's a comprehensive financial plan doesn't mean that it is. But I guess we should do. I'll do a topic about that. I've done one before, but I'll do a separate topic about that. But moving on, because I know sometimes the viewers are impatient to get to the point. But when we're talking about when you should make changes to your investment strategy, it really has to do, I think of it as what's a market cycle? What's a typical market cycle? And how far are we away from needing those funds? So what do I mean by market cycle? Let's first talk about what do I mean by market cycle? What is a market cycle? So let's go to the definitions. So for you, now this was interesting. This is the first time I did this today. You'll see that my resources for two of these snippets here are Google's Gemini. And what's interesting is I like to use things like Investopedia and some well-known firms like Vanguard, Fidelity, JP Morgan, BlackRock for some of this material. But I've been finding that these AI searches, although you have to be very, very careful, these for accuracy, but these AI searches are really packaging things up nicely. But let me read along with me here. A stock market cycle is the natural patterns of ups and downs in the financial markets, consisting of four phases: accumulation, markup, distribution, and markdown. We're going to go over that in a bit. These cycles are driven by economic conditions and investor sentiment, moving between bull markets, that's rising prices, and bear markets or falling prices. Four phases and then it goes into four phases of the stock market cycle. The first is accumulation. Accumulation, This is the bottom of the cycle where a market has bottomed out and prices begin to rise after a downturn. Investor sentiment is often pessimistic. They don't think this is going to be good going forward. Everybody's sitting in, or the majority of people are sitting in gold or cash or whatever, but they're pessimistic. But smart money starts buying at low prices. Now, let me pause here and say, I didn't say it at the top of this section here, but this is the information I'm giving you today is for education, not advice. Advice is very, very specific and individualized. If you'd like to reach out to us and schedule time with me, and if you have at least $1 million in invested assets, you can do so. You can reach out to us at attleborowealth.com. I'll just put my website up here, our website up here, attleborowealth.com. Or you can email us at questions@attleborowealth.com. If you go to attleborowealth.com, there's a section in there under Contact Us where you can schedule, if you're not a client, you can schedule a 15-minute discovery call. If you have at least $1 million in invested assets, I welcome you to do that if you have questions. But that's for specific advice, and I'm happy to go over some things with you. And even I can't even offer specific advice unless I have an agreement, unless someone's a client. So please take this as education and take all the education you can get. All right, so that's accumulation. Prices, the bottom of the cycle where a market has bottomed out and prices begin to rise after a downturn. Investor sentiment is often pessimistic, and smart money starts buying at low prices. Then we have markup. The markup, as more investors enter the market and sentiment improves, stock prices begin a sustained rise. This phase is characterized by increasing volumes and bullish sentiment. More people think that the market's going to rise. That's a bullish sentiment, sometimes leading to euphoria, right? Oh, this market's going to just continue. It's never going to stop. We've seen that. I've heard that from people over and over again. Oh, the market's screaming. It's going to continue to go up. And then sometimes there's a significant setback. So that's markup. Distribution. In this phase, smart traders begin selling their holdings as prices reach a peak. The market sentiment shifts from bullish to mixed or neutral, and prices may remain relatively stable for a time before a downturn begins. So you've got to be a smart, they're saying you got to be a smart person every step of here. It's very, very hard to time the market. So it's nearly impossible, in my opinion. We're going to talk about that a little bit and how you handle these things. But what I'm going over today is just the market cycles. And then we have markdown, or what I'm going over in this section is just the market cycles. Then you have markdown. Let's go back here. This is the downtrend phase where prices fall significantly as investor sentiment turns negative and a bear market sets in. This phase is characterized by fear and selling pressure, often leading to significant losses for those still holding positions. And here's some key takeaways. So key takeaways right here. These are right here. Market cycles are closely tied to large-scale economic business cycles. Identifying the specific phase of a market cycle can be challenging in real time. And economic and fiscal policies can significantly influence the duration and intensity of market cycles. So and they're telling you got to be a smart person, right? Smart investor, but they're also telling you that it's really difficult to identify. And here's what we just saw, right? So here's your accumulation phase. This is from Investopedia. Your accumulation phase, your markup phase. These are when things are starting to go. So this is where they say, okay, here's smart people, right? Smart people. The smartest people are actually right here, right? They're buying in here. And then we have the distribution phase. And now this is, again, it's for only smart people. Well, smart people start selling here. Well, if you know when to buy here and when to sell here, well, you're the smartest person in any room. But then they tell you that it's really, really difficult to tell what phase we're in. So again, we're going to talk about how to overcome that, because you don't want to be in the markdown phase and then selling here. Now what most people do when they rely just on their emotions and they talk to their neighbor, uncle, aunt, brother, sister, friend about investing, most people unfortunately buy right around here and sell right around here, right? And that's the opposite of what you want to do. So it's not even that you're not smart people. It's just that you're driven by emotion and not driven by fundamentals, and you're not driven by the plan, right? Because being driven by your financial plan eliminates all this need of having to be a smart person, the smartest person that maybe I've ever met, and working within these market cycles. So that's what a market cycle looks like. All right, now how long is a typical, and this is, now I included this chart because this, it's not all bad here, right? It just doesn't end here and go on here forever. There's typically a pickup. So if you just compare these two, right, we've got this, when we see this accumulation phase, that's after a drop in the market. When here's the bull market rally, what they're referring to up here is markup, same thing, right? Then we have the peak, and this starts the distribution phase. And then we have the bear market fall, but then it picks up again. And that's a normal cycle of the market. So now how long do these cycles usually last? So cycle duration by phase. Bull markets have historically lasted much longer than bear markets. That's good news. Usually the markets are up more than they're down. For example, the average duration has been about 3.8 to 5 years, with varying returns. Now bull markets are when markets are increasing, right? We're going here, we're up. Bear markets are when markets are going down. Bear markets have historically been shorter, averaging about 1.3 to 1.5 years in duration. But just like good things tend to go by quickly, bad things tend to feel like they drag on, the bear markets hit us hardest from a feelings point of view, from an emotional point of view. They can also be devastating from a withdrawal point of view for a distribution from your portfolio, and we'll talk a bit about that. The full cycles, the total length of a cycle from peak to the next peak is often in the 4 to 10 year range. So what we often see is somewhere between, on average, 3 to 7 years when we're looking at this bit of it. So if we look at that 3 to 7 years, that's kind of the time, and some people say 3 to 5 years, but that's kind of the time from when we get back to that original question: when should you start making changes to your investment portfolio? So let's look back and make sure we're hitting all of our points here. So we talked about what is a market cycle. We talked about how long is that market cycle. So that market cycle is here we are, looks like something like that. That was a terrible look at that. Let's do it again. See if I can make it better. It's a little bit better, but that's what a typical market cycle looks like. How long is it? Well, it's 3 to 7 years, or 3 to 5 years, historically. Now, I want to look at this. So we're going to look at the S&P 500. Historically, we're going to look at the S&P 500. So that's growth. We're going to look at a S&P 500 percentage of high. We're going to talk about sequence of returns risk. Then we're going to talk about advisor confidence, financial plan driven invested decisions, account segmentation, retirement income plan, and when to start adjusting. So let's look at, I'm going to pull this down. So I'm going to share our charting and our research software or platform with you. So we use this company Y charts. So here we are. We have the S&P 500. So you'll see here that this is the S&P 500 total returns. Now I just look at the last 10 years. Let me make this a little larger. So we're looking at the S&P 500 total return, if you can see that. And you can see the different dates. So this is a 10-year. And as I scroll through this, I'm going to take myself off the screen so you can see more. As I scroll through this, you can't see that, but it says 2016, and it goes all the way because we're almost at the end of 2025. So anybody would say, well, Jesus, this is a good run. But you can see these different market cycles that are kind of built into here. And, from peak to trough or peak to recovery, we've got pretty consistent times. Now, if we go back to 2020, for example, that's here. So this is the pandemic, and let me come in a little tighter. So here's 2020. So here's right the pandemic right here. So that was the start of the pandemic, and that was the bottom of the trough, as we call it, the drop. So short period of time. If we're looking at dates, you can see the dates in the top right. See where it says February 18th, 2020, and then it comes down here, and the bottom there was almost there. So March 24th, 2020, and then we started climbing back up, and we were actually ahead previous highs within the same year by September 1st, 2020. Now you have to remember that was unusual. There's a lot of government intervention that forced a lot of money out into the system. But if we look back here, so in 2018, we ended the year very badly in 2018. We were down significantly. So September, we had a high in 2018, and by the end of the year, we were down. And then it took, just about 5 months to recover. Let's see, just about 5 months, 4 months, 5 months to recover. So that was a short period of time. If we go back a little further and we go to the max, now this is going to get long because this is the S&P 500. This goes all the way back, to the start. But if we go to the, let's go find a Great Recession. This is going to look like a blip here. So let's look. Let's find. I think we're right about here. Yep. So here we go. We've got 2008. It was actually started right at the end of 2017, but we've got 2018, 2019 represented right here. Now that looks like a tiny little blip, but I'm here to tell you that it felt like forever. And these are market cycles, and you can see that we do have periods of recovery. This was a big one. So this is 2022. 2022 was a terrible year. You remember that the stock markets and the bond markets fell significantly, and this is a pretty deep trough here. And it wasn't until December 6, 2023 here, or January 2024, when we really got back to full recovery. Now, again, this is just the S&P 500. I'm using this as a proxy to show you the broad markets. This is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the S&P 500. Now, let me come back at a full screen, and I want to show you this because I like this, and we're going to go tight in to 10 years. These are the percentages off the highs. So this line here that you see, that straight line right where my cursor is, that's the high. And then we see the drop down. So 2016, you'll see the percentage drop. So that dropped negative 9.22%. Obviously, during the pandemic, we saw the drop all the way down to about 30. It was about 32%. Let's go down here and see if I can get a little closer there. There you go. 33.79%. 2022, again, we had drawdown all the way down to right here. We're about 24%. But these are short periods of time, right? Relatively short periods of time. If we go back to the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. Oh, I think I misstated that earlier. Let's go to 2008, 2009. Here's the Great Recession here. October 2007. I think I was showing you 17 before. Sorry. All the way to recovery in February. Let's see. The S&P 500 didn't fully recover. That carries. Look at that. 2007. The drop was at the bottom was 2009. We didn't actually see back to the high again until 2012 there. So that's always our stress test, is the Great Recession. So that is, when you're thinking about market cycle, think about that 3 to 5 year period and that drawdown, that drop from high to low. Here's 2000, September 1st, 2000, and you see that drop all the way down. There's your low, negative 44%. Didn't fully recover until 2006, right? The S&P 500. We're climbing back out of that hole there. So I think that's really interesting. So now when you say, all right, let me get rid of these charts. I hope that was helpful. Now when you look at, okay, so we talked about these two things. We've got to be concerned. The reason that people want to shift their money from risk funds, right, like the S&P 500 or stock, into more conservative investments or protected investments, is because they're worried about their money isn't going to be there when they need it. And this is that sequence of returns risk. Your investments being down when you need the money. Now, this is a real concern, because if I went back to that chart and I showed you, okay, well, this is when you retire, and then we hit, pick a year, whether it's 2000, the dot-com bubble, or whether it's the Great Recession, or whether it was the pandemic, or whether it was high inflation that we saw in 2022 driving everything, so and the economic factors that were a result of the pandemic. If you retired at one of those times and you had to start taking money out of your portfolio and the market was down here, that's difficult to recover from, because as you're drawing funds, as you're taking distributions out of your holdings, as the market's down here, it never gets a chance to recover. That's sequence of returns risk, when you're going to get those returns. And we can't time that. We can time when you're going to need the funds, but we can't time when you're going to get the returns. So that's why we go to, and I'll come back to advisor confidence, but that's when we come back to the financial plan driven investment choices. Because when you have a true, detailed, comprehensive plan that shows when you're going to need these funds, and you clearly identify the funds, that you don't just tell your financial advisor, hey, I'm going to need $5,000 a month during retirement, and it's really $8,000 a month, and you've never done the work to determine the true amount, then you don't have any method to make those investment decisions. Because the first thing that you have to do, I pre-filled this for you, is that you've got to kind of lay out your needs on your timeline. Now, we're using retirement here, and I'm going to come back to my younger person I was talking to in her 30s in a second, because she's far away from retirement. But you can't just assume. Let's just say that she's talking about her investment portfolio, and her investment portfolio could be $5 million. It could be $10,000. I don't know. We didn't get into that. But we were talking about retirement. Now, she could be thinking, I want to buy a new car, or I'm looking to buy a house. So her timeline could be very, very different depending on when she's going to need the money. Most of you are listening to this, either you're currently in retirement or you're planning retirement. And if you're in retirement, you're thinking, or we've done the work of your clients, okay, well, here I am in retirement. Now we have to map out what we're going to need over our lifetime, because you want your funds to last until you're no longer here. And whatever's left for most people, unless you have a specific estate goal and a legacy goal, it's whatever's left we want to pass to our heirs as efficiently as possible. So you've seen this before. This is the account segmentation strategy, where we develop individual portfolios based on risk and based on need of when you're going to need those funds. But first, you need to answer this question. This question is, how much money am I going to need in each one of these segments? Remember, the account segmentation income retirement plan. We're gonna hammer that down one of these times. So, account segmentation income retirement plan. How much money am I going to need in each one of these segments? This comes from this question is answered by your financial plan. And only when you answer this question can you develop your investment strategy, lay out these investments based on needs and risk, because this is going to start as a 100% conservative portfolio. Let's say currently it's money market and short-term treasuries. And this last portfolio here could be 100% stock portfolio, because you don't need those funds for, in this example, 18 plus years. And then we ramp this up along the way. We go from 100% stock to 40% stock, 60% bonds, 60% bonds to 40% bonds. And we continue down there, 70-30, 80-20, 80-20, etc. And then it all conveyor belts down as you need those funds. So that's a tremendous amount of work. I get it. And you know how that works in a retirement strategy. But the question for today is, when do you start adjusting? Well, if you're in retirement and you don't have a plan like this, it's now, right? You've got to lay out your plan, start making adjustments. But I always say, if we're 5 years from retirement, within that 3 to 7 year market cycle, going back to the market cycle, or 3 to 5 year market cycle, you want to start making those adjustments now. You want to start having that plan. You definitely want to start at least filling this first segment, this 0 to 3 year segment. Because if you've got $2 million, for example, saved for retirement, $2 million, saved for retirement, you don't want to make massive changes based on what your fears and concerns are. You want to make calculated changes based on what your needs are. So if you're plus 5 years to retirement, maybe you can have a more general approach, a more growth-oriented approach with some protections. But if you're within 5 years of retirement, you want to start making your investment changes based on something like this account segmentation income retirement plan. and again, not just a 60-40 or 40-60 portfolio. You want individual portfolios based on when you're going to need those funds, and risk adjusted portfolios based on when you're going to need those funds. But you want to start making those changes 5 years out from that retirement date or from that need date. So now this 37-year-old person, or I think she's younger than 37, just in case she's listening. Early 30s, mid 30s. She looks like she's 20. If you're 5 years out, for example, of retirement, certainly make the changes. But again, what if she needs to buy a house within 5 years? Do you think she should start making some adjustments? Yes. What if she just wants to buy a car in the next year? And she's got a lot of money in NVIDIA, and she's made a lot of growth. She's had a lot of growth, or maybe she bought it at the wrong time. She's not had so much growth, but should she start making some changes? Yes. So the answer to the question is, when should I start making investment changes? It depends on when you're going to need the funds. But you got to plan accordingly. You can't throw darts. You can't just guess. We don't want to make emotional changes changes based on emotion, because it typically doesn't work out well. So draft your financial plan, have a comprehensive financial plan, develop your investment strategy based on that plan, review it every single year or when you have significant changes in your life, and you should come out just fine. All right, let me talk about this advisor confidence, because this was really interesting. So we've covered everything else. I keep toggling between retirement income plan and income retirement plan. Sorry, we'll get that hammered down. But back to this advisor confidence. What I thought was interesting was this. Both of these ladies I was talking to have financial planners. And the younger one doesn't feel confident in her planner. She's using this financial advisor because it's the financial advisor her family uses. She doesn't really get much attention from them. She doesn't have a financial plan, that she can count on. That's in-depth, comprehensive, a real financial plan. That plan doesn't drive the investment decisions. She's got a lot of uncertainty. So she had a lot of questions. Just maybe I should just pull it and go into. I feel like I should put it in a CD or something. That's what she said. And now on the other side of that, and you know how I'm thinking already. I know the answer for her, right? I know how to get her answer, I should say. But the other person, on the other hand, so she's in her 60s, and she said, my guy said this, you're not going to be retiring soon. You're not going to, you're still working. You're still healthy. There's no need to make any changes because of this. Now, she has confidence in her advisor. Now, we didn't get into the details of what kind of financial plan she has. Maybe she's got a fantastic advisor who does all the things that should be done: tax planning, full comprehensive financial planning, and proper investment strategy. But whatever it is, she has confidence in this person. So she's staying in the right place for her because of this confidence. The other person has no confidence. I could see it just in her body language. She could make mistakes or bad choices because of this lack of confidence. You want a relationship that's going to bring you that confidence. You want a relationship, I think, that has that comprehensive financial planning strategy, has an investment process based on that planning strategy, does tax planning, pays attention to all the things that you should be paying attention to in your whole financial life, whether you're 35 years old and you're looking way forward to retirement, or whether you're 65 years old and you're retiring this year. Or maybe you're 75 years old and you're looking back and there's some things that you want to correct. I don't know, but you've got to have a relationship where you have confidence. We talk about this a lot. I want you to have confidence that in your retirement plan, to have the comfort. It's kind of the 2 C's or three C's. So the comfort, a comfortable retirement, and the comfortable financial life. Let's just say, if you're not in retirement, that you want and deserve. You want to have confidence that you can reach your goals and needs and objectives, and overcome the issues that might come up. And you want clarity. You need that clarity. That's the 3rd C. If you're listening, Valerie. So that's you need that clarity to be able to see where things are coming from, where you're moving to, and how it's going to potentially play out for you. And you've got to do that. You've got to update these things on an ongoing basis. So every single year at a minimum, and significant life changes or significant changes in the economy, policies, things like that. I hope this was helpful today. I hope that makes sense. We went over a lot. We got it in just under the hour. So today was when to make changes in your retirement investments. We talked about market cycles, how long a market cycle is. We looked at the different cycles going all the way back to 1990 in the S&P 500. We looked at percentages off highs. We looked at different again cycles within that one issue. We talked about sequence of returns risk. We talked about financial plan driven investment decisions, account segmentation, when to start adjusting, and advisor confidence. And all that is extremely important. Hang on if you want to for announcements. So we brought announcements to the end of this webinar, and we've got some things coming up. So we're just ending tomorrow night our last class for the year at Mercer County Community College. It was a 2-class series. Tomorrow night is going to be the second night of that 2-class series. No jumping in now. If you missed the first class, you can't attend the second one. We've got some, we're sponsoring some movies again this year. I think this is the 3rd or 4th year we've done this for the Newtown Theater, the holiday movie events. For clients, we have 10 complimentary tickets to each showing. And I'll share with you what those are. So they're showing the Bells of St. Mary's. I'll admit to you, I haven't seen this one yet. I know it's kind of a classic. It's Bing Crosby. I should see it. But every year we've done the Bells of St. Mary, and that's going to be Monday, December 9th at 3 p.m. This will be on our website. And if you're a client, you'll get an email about this. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, we've got tickets for as well. We're sponsoring that movie. I should say sponsoring, not hosting. But we sponsor these movies so that they can charge reasonable ticket prices. Sometimes they do them at no cost, but it's usually reasonable ticket prices, and to be able to bring these films to the community. So the Bells of St. Mary, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's also December 9th at 7:30. Elf for grown-ups. This is kind of fun. 21 and older. You have to be 21 and older. But that's Friday, December 13th. The activities begin at 7 o'clock. The movie starts at 8 o'clock. So what are the activities? In the hour leading up to the movie, guests will enjoy 1 complimentary drink, free popcorn, a trivia contest, and a costume contest. Elf-themed prizes will be given for trivia winners, and the best-dressed elf will win a special prize. Only elves 21 and older will be admitted. That should be fun. Maybe we should see if we can do a work event around that. I think that might be the same day. No, it's a week before our Christmas event. But then we have Home Alone. We're showing or sponsoring Home Alone Saturday, December 14th at 9 a.m. Family-friendly morning screening, great for all ages. We've got some office closures coming up this Friday. Our office is going to be closed. Everyone is going to be unavailable for Friday for our annual Worksgiving event. So we all come together, make delicious food, spend the day together as a social gathering for our team only. So the door will be at our office, but the door will be locked. No stopping by. We love you all, but this is a team event. Next week, of course, is Thanksgiving. We're going to be closed both Thursday, November 27th, and Friday, November 28th, so our team can spend time with their loved ones. Everybody's out of office will be on. Everybody, for clients, if you need something immediately, you can always reach me on my mobile phone. You all have my mobile phone. There will be no webinar next week. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I want to thank you for your support, ongoing support. It's been 24 years that I've been in this industry. It's been 15 that it's been an independent firm, and we grow as a team. We grow with our great client family every year, and it's really exciting. I want to thank you for your support, your great feedback, help with the growth of our firm, this channel, our podcast, and helping us continue to grow and learn as professionals. Because at every time that we bring on new challenges, whether it's somebody working through something, it helps us. It helps us grow as individuals, as professionals, and we appreciate that. I hope that was helpful today. I look forward to seeing you all back in a couple weeks, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Take care.